All right, folks. I figured that I'm attempting to represent the average Joe here, and I feel like every single video I watch about Path of Exile is some incredibly over-the-top, ridiculous notion that the game is absolutely trash, it's unplayable, and they go into these niche specific areas that most players really don't care about, and they try to accentuate the problem to blow it up to be bigger than it is. So, instead of just doing a full reaction to a podcast, I'm going to try and sum up some things that I've been thinking about, and I want to see what the community thinks of my opinions on some other stuff, right? Now, when we go to Path of Exile and we go to the subreddit, every single post is about problems. You would think this is the worst video game ever created. We have things like this, the community saying, has Calandra ruined Path of Exile? As in, has the League itself literally ruined an entire game? The fact that this is even a title is, one, it's just shitting on Path of Exile for clicks, and two, it's just completely not true. We've had bad leagues before. This is a level of, like, air quotes, hate for the game that I've not seen in a long time. And every single post is just relentless bitching about these very, very specific things. Some are correct, right? There are some problems. We know there are. But every single one is like hammering the point that the game is literally ruined. And you would think nobody is enjoying the game because they're going onto the subreddit and they're seeing specific videos like this. Vision gameplay. Steel Mage swaps to Magic Find to kill a rare. Yeah, do you know why Steel Mage swapped to a Magic Find to kill a rare? Because it's trending on the subreddit and it's going to make his chat laugh and it's going to be a clip and it's going to be more promotion. There's this notion that you have to do everything the absolute most efficient way humanly possible, and if you're not doing that, there's no point playing the game. And that's why we come across videos that, like, where they're going into the TFT Discord and they're calling in a Magic Find color and then making crazy statements like the only way to play the game is to get into a TFT Discord and call in a Magic Find color. Now, I'm not defending GGG in the sense of, oh, this league's amazing and people are wrong. No, there is a lot of stuff that they are correct on, but my lord, can we have a sense of just a bit of calm for a moment? I've watched this video because it was recommended to me from a viewer in my stream saying, hey, have you watched Fated Connections? It's a Path of Exile podcast, and the reason I was recommended it was because I didn't want to watch Bayclast, because when I watched Bayclast I saw this incredible clickbait title, and there's just all this stuff going on, and when I typically watch Path of Exile content from like stuff like this, it's people that are paid full-time to play the game and they are out of touch of as to what an actual regular player does and how they play. Now, in this video, they spoke about, was the player base divided? And I'll tell you, right, this is how the video started off. Baylor Mage goes into some incredibly deep, like pretentious voice, and he goes into this, today I want to discuss exactly the problems with Path of Exile and how everything has come crumbling down and the world is over. This is what he says. What he says is I decided to play Magic Find, right? He says, I decided to play Magic Find because it's the only playstyle I enjoyed. It's the only playstyle I enjoyed. So me and my friends, we got together and we set up doing a Magic Find build. When we realized that we had got into maps and it wasn't very profitable, that sucked, because now the playstyle we enjoy is no longer available to us, and therefore we had to come up with some other solutions. Then he says, so I tried bossing and I didn't enjoy that. And then he says, I re-rolled again into a Legion Farmer and I'll say Essences, I think it was, and I realised I didn't like that aspect of the game. And he goes on to do this big long speech about how effectively that his playstyle has been killed. Now, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about at all. What this is he's upset that you can't go and stack a load of Magic Find with your mates and get just more stuff and more virtual currency than everybody else. This is not about playstyle. He might say it's about playstyle, but it's not, and I'll tell you why. The playstyle of Magic Find is exactly the same playstyle as when you're playing the game in general. You run around and you shoot some monsters, except this time you get more stuff because there's more people, you have more quant. You're not doing a variety of Harry Potter style spells and freezing this guy and then enchanting it and then bringing it over to a ghost and doing all these magical things. No, you're just killing the stuff in the exact same way. You're doing a legion, you're doing a breach, you're doing everything else, but you're just getting more stuff. So when he goes on and he says, I tried the other playstyles and I didn't enjoy them, what this means is I tried playing a regular build, I didn't get as much shit, and I didn't enjoy them. That's what that means, because playing Magic Find is the exact same thing. Now, I am of the believer that the game would be in a much healthier state if we didn't have Magic Find and Quant, and we could just improve the drops for everybody. Right? So instead of having to base the game's drop rates around these Magic Find players that have insane quant boosts and everything, they could give us a little bit of a boost to the drop rate and be okay, because they wouldn't have to worry about how it is affected by quant and all of this stuff. The problem we have here is we have, and I'm not just picking on Baylor Mage because there are a lot of people doing this, we have things like this. It's midday on week 1 of the league, and I've re-rolled 3 times, and I'm also going for my 3rd walk of week 1, so apparently it's news that he's been outside 3 times for a walk. Probably I'm also going to have lunch outside. I've never been so disinterested in a month, in a league. I'm very sad. It's like saying, the game's so trash it's unplayable, but hey, I've also re-rolled 3 characters. Like, have some sense of bloody perspective. If you're playing a game so much that you've re-rolled 3 characters, you are partially enjoying the game, right? So just admit that it's not all doom and gloom. It's this notion like the game is utterly trash and it's completely unplayable and the whole game has changed, when really all that's happened is, we get a few less drops. Crafting some insane endgame items is a little bit tougher, more difficult, a little bit more RNG, but as a sort of balancing point, we don't have to go and give our item to somebody in the Discord and hand it over and hope the guy's trusted and is not going to run off with it. And we, as a result, get to purchase the currency, and we get all of the crafts unlocked for us. Yesterday, I decided to swap my resistances. I didn't need to become verified and trusted on TFT, and I didn't have to search for a trusted person and hand over my item that if it got stolen would brick my build. I could just spend 7 Chaos Orbs and swap my resists, and I was completely fine with that. There are some give and takes that have to be done. It seems like they don't want any give and takes. Again, I'm not saying there are not problems. There are problems, which I'll come on to, but the notion that people like Baylor Mage are saying, it's so bullshit because the playstyle has been nerfed and now I'm going to have to play the game in a normal way, which isn't fun. Mate, it's just the same thing. You're just getting more drops. We have quotes like this. Watching people find out they can't afford their builds because certain items are too expensive, but not yet making the connection that Magic Find groups and juicers that used to supply these things is amusing. Bring me back my juice. Now, I want you to understand that during this podcast, he said the following. He said, it was really difficult in the league. Wasn't having much fun, not really enjoying the game. And I was actually finding it difficult because normally what I do is when I'm trying to sustain tier 16 maps on day 1, I'll use Harvest to alch my maps. And he was joking about it. And I'm like, mate, you have a fully completed atlas. On like day 1 and 2 of the league. Your views and opinions, they matter, yes, but they don't represent the vast majority of players. And it's like they're speaking on these things like they're actual facts. In this podcast, they go on to say the group that they tried playing the game and they've ran the numbers and they get 10% the drops that they used to. Now, I don't believe that, because how the hell have they gone and got that number 10% and they're spitting it out there as a fact? But I could go ahead and debunk that and say, oh, well, actually, I feel like I'm probably getting 65%. Like, we can all throw out these magical numbers, right? There's also this problem where people refuse to have a little bit of bend and a little bit of give. So here's some footage of me just playing in Delve. I don't typically do Delve, but I was struggling for alchemy orbs, and so I decided I don't do Delve too much. It might be rewarding to get Azurite, and it might be a bit more fun to, you know, go ahead and get some Azurite. So we chug through here, and I bump into some awful mods and awful Arch Nemesis, and Arch Nemesis is making my weaker build struggle a little bit down here. But sometimes you want to do a league mechanic because that's where the rewards are. Here's the funny thing, is that the PoE players are always saying about, I hate the way you have to do it the efficient way, and I have to call in a magic find colour in TFT. But all of a sudden, say the rewards are in Heist League or are in Delve League, they won't go ahead and do it, and they'd rather just moan that their maps suck or whatever. Like, there has to be some give and take. In my opinion, I've actually, in some aspects, enjoyed the slower progression. I feel like there was a point in time in Path of Exile where early on in the league, you might have tier 10 maps sat there, and you might have some tier 15 maps, and the difference between a tier 10 map and a tier 15 map was so negligible that you just basically went and you sat and farmed tier 16s the whole time, and the whole progression was cut short. Now, there is a point now where, yes, Arch Nemesis is tough and it is difficult, but there is a moment where somebody might actually think, you know what, it's probably best if I sit in some tier 8s for a while, level up, get my character a bit stronger, and then I'll push on into the other map tiers. But everybody wants to rush ahead, and everybody wants to click their fingers and have their rewards given to them instantaneously and rush through progression and beat the game as fast as humanly possible, that anything in their path slowing them down is seen as like the worst thing on earth. Now, again, I'm not defending Arch Nemesis because I think it's pretty damn bad, honestly, and I don't like some of the changes they've done, but there are solutions to it, and some of the things that people are saying are outrageous. Yesterday I saw a YouTube channel that had a thumbnail calling Chris Wilson autistic, and we've already seen one player permanently banned for calling the guy a bald retard, and I've also seen other videos with like thumbnails of like autism awareness shirts with like photoshopped Chris Wilson on it. And it's like, mate, the game isn't that bad. The game for most of us is pretty similar. You load in, you need probably an Exalt or two worth of gear to really get your build to feel good, or in this case, a divine or two. You farm your way to that divine point, you buy some gear, and you eventually work your way through the game and the maps, and you get some drops. Some evenings you sign in, and you'll get a divine orb, or you'll get an Exalt orb, or you'll get some chaos, and you might solo self-found a nice pair of gloves. And some other evenings you don't get much. We're now seeing videos of people uploading like, I killed this rare and nothing dropped off it. This is shit. Yeah, that is what Path of Exile has been like for literally years and years and years. Sometimes you kill a load of stuff and you don't get anything. That's just the nature of the game, and the whole point is kind of like the one-armed bandit machine, try and match the 3 apples in a row. Sometimes you don't get anything and sometimes you do, and if everything was handed to you instantaneously, it wouldn't feel that good if you're always getting it. You know, we have people, for example, if we go to the PoE trade, you'll see people talking about retention and how it's the worst thing ever, but if you look, people will say Synthesis created amazing items and amazing crafting opportunities, and that lost 31% of players. Yes, Calandra has lost 49%, but I would argue that probably 10% of that has been absolutely swayed by the amount of outrage by the community, and the number is more realistically around 40%, which is the same number as Sentinel, Arch Nemesis, Scourge, Expedition, and even the Baby Harvest that everybody loves, and even almost Synthesis, right? So, look, I'm not saying that this league is a great league, it's not. But if you do your lakes, you will run around and you'll get some extra juice. And people aren't factoring in the case of, yes, when you run through a map with Abyss on, you'll get some extra packs. But now we don't have that. So I'm talking about if it was Abyss League. Now we have Calandra League, so you run around and then you run the lake. And the lake has to be included in the loot that you get. And I'm just seeing all of these videos of all of these Path of Exile players talking about how everything is wrong in the game, when the reality is, yes, player base divided, there's no loot, etc, 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 and has Calandra been ruined, how to break the game and all of this stuff, and it's like it's crazy. It really is crazy. Why everyone is quitting PoE. GGG refuses to fix loot. And when you look at these people and you see them moaning and you see their characters, they're doing things that players just don't do, man. And they'll say stuff like the game is shit and all of this. Whereas if you go to their Twitch channel, right, and you go to their videos, you'll look that he just played for 9 hours. He just played for 9 hours straight. Now, how bad is a video game if you can play it for 9 hours straight? He has an omniscience, a headhunter, some sort of relic boots, dying sun, all of this shit, right? He's in a 6-man party and he's running around and he's being a resetter. Now, all of these people, and I'm not picking out individuals, I'm just giving the viewers out here an example. These are the people that are saying, bro, the game is so shit and dead and this is why everybody is leaving. And like day 3 of their league, they're running around trying to pretend like this is fun. This is what they're trying to say, that when you're super juiced and everything, it's super fun. Look, we know why they're doing it. This bloke is not running around with 3 FPS in a 6-man party because this is the most fun that he can have. No, this is the best way for him to make currency. And that's most of the time all it comes down to, is these people want to spend 24/7 playing the game and e-flex how much currency they've got, and suddenly when they can't do that, and it's becoming a bit more of an air quotes lottery, you know, they get upset. This person has like weapon swaps with like 11 empowers, and he's leveling all of his empowers, and he's doing all of these, and he's leveling up, and he's getting mad currency, and he'll be bitching that the game's trash and unfun when the bloke's literally running around a fucking Legion circle for 9 hours straight. Right? We've got things here talking about pay spins and is it worth it, and is Magic Fine worth it, and they're trying to paint this picture that this is the trashiest game ever. And it's like, have a bit of common sense, have a bit of humility, and just say that the game's pretty good. There's been a few changes that have sucked. It's not the end of the world. GGG have a history of fixing the game, and more than likely people are having fun. Like, right, if I go onto my VODs and I skim through, right, there was some crazy monsters in here that were a bit annoying as a golem build. It was like a double proj arch nemesis guy down here, and I was really struggling. My light radius wasn't high enough. It was hard to go into the light and kill it. It was just like really difficult, far too difficult than it even needed to be. But I understand that this is like kind of random. It's kind of unlucky that this combination has spawned, and although it sucks, I'm not going to go and make a Reddit thread about it. The problem is, every single thing that goes wrong, when the mentality of the game is this game sucks, it's easy to dogpile on it for upvotes. So when you know the game sucks, you can be like, hey, look, this other thing also happened and this is bullshit. When half the time that was happening in Path of Exile anyway, right? So look, there are some things that are bad about the game. There are some things that are good about the game. I have 22 Chaos in my stash tab. I'm on tier 10 maps. I've got quite a few missing. I've done about 50 Atlas. I've got about 2 Divines worth of gear. I've solo found some things. And I'm slowly progressing my way through the game. And I do at times find Arch Nemesis a bit frustrating. Sometimes I wish there was a bit more loot. And I'm not a big fan of the fact that everybody groups up and stacks rarity and kind of abuses it to get massively ahead in currency, because then they can do things like buy every single empower, and just for say a bad example, if they wanted to, the rich Magic Find group could go and buy every Aegis Aurora and crank up the prices and price fix or whatever they want to do. But I understand that I'm not involved in that game, that I'm not getting involved in that market. That's not me. and I understand it's an online game with an online economy, etc. And I think a lot of people get like so frustrated at all of this stuff, and they just need to realize like it's really not that bad. Now, the idea that Magic Find groups were the reason that your uniques were cheap is so fucking stupid. Now, he's saying, oh, if you don't understand why that's the case, you're stupid. I think it's the opposite. The reason uniques were cheap was not because of bloody Magic Find groups. In his own words, you air quotes can't juice. And you didn't need a group to juice. I would play on my own and do double beyond farming. And I would do some delirium or double beyond farming and get tons of uniques. Now, I'm not a Magic Find guy. I wouldn't have any Magic Find. It was the fact that the super endgame juice let you spew out a load of uniques. You've also got to factor in the fact that when you do get a unique now, if it's a decent roll, it's a lot more expensive because you don't want to waste money divining it. So the higher rolls matter. We're also brand new into a league, so maybe not everybody's got set up and progression's a little bit slower, so there's not many uniques. And throughout the time of Path of Exile's history, drop rates have changed all the time. I remember when a Shavs was like 150 exalts, man. Now it was like, I think it was like last league, it was like bloody 10C, right? The reason uniques were cheap isn't because there was Magic Find groups making uniques cheap. Like, what? It's just a coping mechanism because they like the fact they can group up and abuse all of this shit to get a load of drops. Baylor Mage isn't running around doing some fancy Magic Find technique, and that's why he loves it, and the gameplay is so different. It's the exact same style of gameplay that everyone else is doing. They just get more drops, and they're getting a bit upset that there's not as many drops. So, I don't need to go on about this forever. There's plenty of stuff we can talk about and all of this stuff. But when when you go to YouTube and you have a look at Path of Exile and you see all this stuff about everybody saying that it's the worst game ever and all of this shit, it's like, come on, man. You know, this guy pulling a face like me trying to say like, oh, you know, Chris is an idiot. You know, we've got people doing all of this stuff all the time that this is how you have to play the game. You have to pull somebody into Magic Find Cull and get 30 divines. Yes, that is a possibility. You can do that, but you don't have to do that. The idea that the game has been completely ruined is ridiculous. Like, I'm not picking on this guy or anyone in the video because I think he responded to one of my comments. But like, say for example, this video, people get sucked in with videos like this when they say how I made 100 divines in the first week. This isn't some special tactic. You know what he did? In week 1, he has a full super meta build and he has a fully completed Atlas. And he's been sat farming fully completed juiced up maps with Atlas, with League mechanics, with everything. And he's got a load of money. Like, yes, if you're farming tier 16s for like 9 hours a day for a week straight when people like me are in a tier 5 map and just chilling with golems, like having a chat in Discord, yeah, you're going to make 100 divines. And I understand this guy isn't saying it to be like a flexer. He's just basically explaining what he did, and that's okay. But people get sucked into this notion that there's like some magic combination and that you have to do certain things, and then they'll complain the game's not fun. Like, look at this Essence tab. Most people will have never had an Essence tab that looks like this, let alone in week 1. These people are absolutely smashing content, map sell for 9 hours a day for a straight week, getting ahead of everybody, and then buying all of the good bases and crafting and getting further ahead, farming quicker. And yeah, it does make a lot of money, but everybody can do that. Put it this way, everyone's trying to make out that the game's dog shit and there are no drops, but every single person that's smashing the game still has an absolutely GG build that obliterates all content in the game. There is enough out there. There are enough drops out there. And Jesus Christ, man, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. One of the things that prompted this video was when I watched the Fated Connections podcast. One of the things one of the people said on it, they went, I'm upset because with the harvest nerfs, I can no longer make mirror tier gear fairly comfortably. I'm like, do you understand what you're saying? You're saying, I can't make mirror tier gear, as in mirror tier, as in the very best weapon in the entire game in existence. That's going to be like a handful of people that ever do that. That's not what you base the game around. The fact that I can now go and trade in Harvest and not have to give my item to some fucking idiot in Discord is a lot better, right? That's just a fact. It is. You might not like the values might need tweaking, but the general concept behind it is good. People are saying like Path of Exile never does anything for any fun. Well, what about the Atlas system? The Atlas system used to suck and now it's great, and now there's an Atlas passive tree and I can sit and do content I enjoy. Now you could say that that content now is not as rewarding. Maybe so, yeah. Well, not everything's bad. And again, I'm not saying that it's perfect. It's not. But Jesus, can we just like chill out a little bit? Like, people are acting like it's the end of the world. Like, you know, or maybe things will get better. Oh no, it ends in 77 days. Okay, mate. Let's say that this is the worst thing ever and it's destroyed the game and you can't stand it. Just don't play. Just don't play then. And then GGG will decide if they're okay with people leaving or not. And then after 80 days, you can come back. That's it. 80 days. It's barely nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's a click of your finger. It's a snapshot of time. People are absolutely going wild about just how trash the game is. You know, I saw a comment in one of these videos, in one of these threads, should I say, and it was like, this has ruined Path of Exile 2. And it's like, the game Path of Exile 2 hasn't even come out yet, mate. So look, some of the complaints are absolutely valid, but this idea that you're going to load up Path of Exile and just have the most grim experience of your life is so overblown. So overblown. It's kind of a bit annoying. Like when I go and I load up my game, right? And I go, okay, let's see what I've got to do today. I'm working on my flame golems. I'd like to try get a 6th link. So I'm going to farm for some fuses, try get a 6th link. My gems are just dinging to level 20, so I'm going to farm that. I've just found a nice new ring, solo self-found. I've managed to go ahead and purchase my 2 golems. I could get some better jewels here or there. I could get some better rolls. I don't need any resists on my chest anymore, so I could recraft that maybe, get some better jewels here. I could work on my flasks. The stuff that I've got planned, right? My Atlas at this point is now up to 74. So I'm up to 74, yeah, because I played a little bit last night. I'm doing the delving and all of this stuff. I've got my missions to do. And overall, I'm working on my build and I'm seeing my build grow. And then eventually, when I'm a bit bored of my build, I'll pick a new build and I'll play another build and I'll level that up. Maybe the crafting's a little bit harder and maybe there's not as many drops and it hurts a little bit, right? But fundamentally, the game's very, very similar to the way it has been. Yes, there are big changes. There has been big changes, and I'm not playing them down. I understand them all. I'm not... People like to act like I'm some dumbass casual that has absolutely no idea about the game. I've played this game a lot. I'm just brushing over that for the fact, to keep the video short. Yeah, there are problems, but for the vast majority of players, the idea is sign in, kill some monsters, get some stuff, see your build grow, and then leave. Most people aren't going to do a full Atlas passive tree and then farm for months and months and months and make insane gear. Most people are probably going to level up, get their Atlas almost done, and then probably quit. Probably most people won't even do that. I think most players don't even get past the beach. And the amount of vitriolic hate towards the devs is outrageous because the devs actually do listen. I know people like to think that they don't, but compared to other companies, they are so involved. And look, this might be not the greatest patch in the world. There are definitely big problems. I really like this MTX, whatever this one is. But just breathe. Just breathe. It's not that bad. Okay, you can't magic find Cull at the moment, or you can't run around with a 6-man juice party, but these are the ones that crack me up, like you click anybody And I'm sure all these people will be bitching saying the game is absolutely trash, right? But they're all sat playing for hours and hours and hours and hours because deep down they know it's pretty fun and they enjoy it, right? It's pretty much the same, you know. So look, that's all I've got to say. It's not that bad. It's not amazing, it's not that bad, but the idea that Path of Exile is kill, where were you when John Lennon was kill? Where were you when Path of Exile was kill? It's like, bro, it's pretty much the same game, mate. It's not that deep.